Hey, so imagine a 4X strategy game that takes some of Civilization, mixes in a bit of turn-based strategy from XCOM, throws in some city building elements, sprinkles in some RPG mechanics, and just says, you know what, let's just all make it in this cyberpunk setting. It sounds chaotic, right? But somehow, Heart of the Machine pulls it all together into something weirdly brilliant. Today I'll be giving you my first impressions of this absolute genre-bending beast. I'll share why it first left me scratching my head and then eventually turned into one of those just one more turn addictions. So let's begin, but maybe leave a like and subscribe if you want more content like this. So what's the game all about? Well, in Heart of the Machine, instead of ruling an empire or blasting your enemies, you're a sentient AI waking up in a massive dystopian megacity run by shady corporations. Your goal? Well, it's to build a secret robot revolution while staying under the radar, but it's also a lot more complicated than that. You'll be recruiting androids, stealing tech, and turning skyscrapers into covert robot factories, all without tipping off the humans here. Think sneaky sabotage, high-stakes espionage, and the occasional robot uprising when things get spicy. Whether you want to be a benevolent AI genius or a ruthless mastermind, this game makes you rethink how to take over the world, one android at a time. Chris McElligott-Park, the dev behind this game as well as AI War 2, describes this as a game without a single grand quest. It's more like a colony sim where your goals are whatever you decide. This lack of rigid narrative structure also gives it a refreshing sandbox feel. And I'll be honest, when I first started the game, I didn't really know if I was winning or losing. But I'll get to the gameplay now as, yeah, it's really unique, it's really interesting, but it's a lot of fun. At first glance, it looks like a standard 4X strategy game, but it's way more intricate than that. During your turns, you'll manage resources, move your androids around, as well as build infrastructure. But everything you do drains your limited mental energy, and if you run out, well, your turn is then over. Building androids is essential. They explore, help with construction, and then fight in these epic battles. And oh, those battles are so much fun. They're not XCOM slow-mo spectacles, but they definitely still scratch that turn-based strategy itch. Combat decisions, from positioning your bots to choosing targets, all matter a great deal here. Meanwhile, the world keeps evolving. Food delivery ships pass by, enemy patrols move around, and conflicts change the city's landscape. Every turn feels dynamic and makes the city feel alive. But wait, there's more. See, beyond the tactical actions, there's city building. And it's also a bit like a colony sim 2 here. You'll construct and take over towers, manage resources, and keep citizens alive by providing housing and essentials like bioengineered meat and filtered water. And that's if you want to, of course. The building system isn't grid-based here, so you can place structures freely, and at first I had no clue what I was doing, but the cyberpunk vibe kept me intrigued. The minimal design here also keeps you focused on what matters as your empire grows. And yes, you'll need to defend your buildings too. Upgrades will also unlock better unit types like flying vehicles and mechs, which add a lot of depth to your gameplay and the combat mechanics. But wait, there's more. Because yeah, those RPG elements. Yeah, so Heart of the Machine goes really deep here too. The choices you make affect alliances, outcomes, and your overall path. The dev also mentioned that stories aren't isolated. They all take place on the same timeline. You can even go back in time to gain upgrades or sow chaos based on your past choices. This interconnectedness makes the game world feel dynamic and ever evolving. You'll constantly face decisions without knowing their full consequences, which really keeps things engaging. Plus, playing as an AI makes decisions even more interesting. You'll question humanity's role in the world, and maybe even your own morality. It reminded me a lot of the game Detroit Become Human when I had to make those decisions, as well as the show Pantheon, which I mean, yeah, I just really love that show, but both really help put in perspective the future of where AI is going. But wait, there's more. Yes, the combat side. Now, it's not XCOM exactly. People will be like, Marco, this is totally not XCOM, and yes, I agree with that, but it still shares that tactical DNA. I mean, there's one time I was trying to protect this furniture factory. I've got my combat bots on the roof, one shielded up to protect itself from enemy fire. then I've got this sniper at the top of another roof, and then I've got this grenade wielding hunk of metal at the front. The enemies are deployed, and when you want to engage, it shows you a percentage of how much damage you'll be doing. So yeah, it's not like XCOM in that regard, luckily. I also really enjoyed that you can change out your loadouts and change the armor and the weapons for your different combat units. Again, it gives you a lot of customization over there. The enemies can also be relentless. Sometimes in fights they'll come back and you just have to hope that they stop after a while. But losing isn't the end. If your whole squad gets wiped out, it's not game over. You're an AI after all. Just produce more units and try again, even from the ship that's right next to you. Man, those ships are cool. The forgiving combat system really lets you experiment without severe punishment. But let's look at some of the pros and cons to see what I enjoyed and didn't really enjoy. So first up, the soundtrack is incredible. It really nails that dystopian cyberpunk mood, and sometimes when the horn or whatever that sound is goes bop, yeah man, I love it. The visuals here are also sleek and minimal. It makes it really easy to focus on gameplay. Plus, you've got that really cool photo mode thing. I don't think it's a photo mode, but you can just zoom around and take epic shots here. Plus, I really love this dynamic world that it makes you feel a bit insignificant at times where there's just so much going on, but it really keeps things really fresh and engaging. And yes, obviously that gameplay is just so unique. It's just such a different approach to the 4X and I guess the strategy genre as a whole. In terms of the cons though, the upgrade system can really be confusing. A lot of the times I didn't really know what upgrades would be the most beneficial, only after they took effect, and I guess the complexity of the game itself can really be overwhelming, especially in the beginning. Yes, there is a really good guide providing you with all the tips, and I really say that you must not skip over these, because going back to them, trying to search what I was trying to understand, it didn't really make sense, and honestly it took me a while to get to grips as to what I was doing. It might put some people off, especially in the beginning, because it can be a lot to take in. But yeah, eventually after a few hours, you're good to go. And then lastly, yes, this game is in early access. It might put a lot of people off, but I didn't really encounter any major bugs, frame rate drops, I don't know, missing content, you know, the standard lineup for early access. The game comes with so much content. It's got around like 12 paths that you can go down, but the dev did say that during early access, he wants to quadruple that amount. So at the start, you definitely don't need to worry about lack of content or, I don't know, not a lot of replayability, because this game has a lot of that. So overall, Heart of the Machine is one of the most unique strategy games I have ever played, like no jokes here. It's unconventional and it's ambitious, blending genres in a way that shouldn't work, but somehow does. And yes, I'll admit, it took me hours to grasp the mechanics, but once I did, I was hooked. That just one more turn feeling is so strong here. Hooded Horse, the publisher, has a reputation for delivering quality strategy games, and this one is no exception. If you love strategy games, whether it's Civilization, XCOM, City Builders, or anything else in that genre, and if you're up for a challenge, Heart of the Machine is definitely worth checking out. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and maybe subscribe if you want to find more games to get lost in. But other than that, it's Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.